Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station. W1GV Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations. Although I've been a radio ham now for more than 50 years, first licensed in March of 1966, there was a period of time during which I didn't even have a ham radio station. Actually, two time periods interrupted by a brief, very active interval. It began in 1982 in Miami, Florida, and continued on until 1985, when I moved to the Florida Keys for a brief time and had a station there for a few months. So I guess there were two interludes, actually. In 1985, from approximately February until the first part of summer, I had a ham radio station in Tavernier in the Florida Keys. That was the part that was hit the hardest recently by Hurricane Irma, which followed a path that reminded me of Hurricane Donna in 1960. The most intense part of that hurricane appeared to be crossing in that area of the Keys. I'm glad I wasn't there. After I moved from the Florida Keys, I moved back to Miami, and I didn't have a ham radio station there in Miami from mid-1985 until I finally left Miami in 1987 to have surgery at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I lived with my parents, and I actually had a very good 160-meter ham radio station during the winter of 1987 until mid-1988. That was when I flew the balloons and the kites from the top of the hill where my parents lived, and they were kind enough to let me recuperate from my injury there. Then I moved to St. Paul, Minnesota in the fall or the late summer of 1988, and from then, through all the moves I've had, all the way up until I believe it would have been 2001, when I moved to Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. That entire period of time, I didn't have a ham radio station and was never on the air. So there was quite a period of time there for almost 20 years, 1982 to 2001. Most of the time during that 20 years, I didn't even have a ham radio station. But once I moved to Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, I got the ICOM IC746 Pro down in Minneapolis on a rainy day and set up an antenna there in Chippewa Falls. Moved to the Black Hills, or the Black Holes of Dakota Territory, United States of amateur radio in 2004, and I've been on the air ever since. Not a whole lot, but intermittently, with a modest ham radio station designed primarily for 20 meters, and that's the one that I use to this day. This QTH has become increasingly noisy during that period of time as more and more human-made gadgets are developed that interfere with ham radio reception. But I don't operate enough to justify it a whole lot. There are some bands that work better than others, even though the antenna isn't perfectly matched. I've described that in other videos. But the point of all of this is that there was a period of time when I was off the air, QRT, temporarily, W1GV, all that time. Whiskey 1, good vibrations, but no vibrations for that period of time, those periods of time. So, just thought I'd let you know that. You're going to face periods when you either lose interest, you have other interests, you are unable to operate because your apartment complex or whatever makes it too difficult to put up an antenna, or the QTH is simply prohibitive for that purpose. And sometimes you just bloody don't care. That's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Hang loose. It'll come back to you if it's for you. And if you're a ham radio operator for as long as I have been, it probably is. It grows on you. CW, of course, in my case. Stan Gibilisco, W1GV, signing off saying 73. And so long, which all these 50-plus years, my native fist has translated that so long to da-da-da-da-da-da.